action.
Okay, Jalen, what were you saying about compound words?
Football is a word. Look, foot is a word and ball is a word. Connected together, it's football.
Absolutely. I love that thinking that he did. He said that foot was a little word, ball was a little word, and when we put them together, we have one big word, football. All right, let me show you another one, and I want you to think. Don't shout it out. I want you to think, and if you see the two little words in the big word, put your thumb up. I have to get a hard one for y'all because y'all are really smart.
Yeah. Snowman.
All right, it's a big word, and if you came to this big word when you were reading, you might freak out and think, oh my gosh, that is a big word, but we're going to use Jalen's thought and our hidden picture steps of looking for a little picture, a little piece in the big piece. And so what two words do you see? Yes, ma'am.
Snow is a little word and man is a little word. And when you put it all together, it makes snowman.
Absolutely. Snow was the little word, man was the little word, and when you put them together, you've got that huge word, snowman. All right, let me show you one more. Are you ready? Put your hands down. Are we going to blurt it out? What?
Or like, if you just see snowman, you don't know what it is.
Okay. That's what you would do if you were reading if you got to this word in a book. You would cover up the first part and say, okay, I know that's man. I'm going to cover up that part, and that looks like the word snow. And if I put those two together, then I get snowman. All right, are you ready for one more? This one might be really hard. I don't know. Are you going to blurt it out, or are you going to put your thumb up? Okay, get your hands ready.
That's football. Runway.
I know, sometimes when you know it, you just have to, it's hard to keep it inside. What are the two little words in this big word?
Run and wait.
All right, run and way. And when we put them together, we get that big word, runway. Now, put your hands down, because here's the cool part. Finding a little picture in that big picture, that's not very hard, is it?
No.
And finding the small words in compound words, that's not very hard, is it? All right, put your hands down. I want to show you something that we can use that same idea that we used looking for the small picture in the big picture, looking for two small words to go together to make a big compound word. We can do it with something else in words. And this was what I was so excited about to share with y'all.
You can put it on the board.
Because sometimes when I'm working with kids in reading, they get to a word and it's not a compound word, and so they don't see two little words and they're just stuck. Has that ever happened to you where you're reading and you're looking for two small words and you're just stuck? Well, I just happen to know that this week in spelling,
E-A.
you are working on that E-A chunk. And we know that this chunk says E. And so if I put this letter
in front of it,
oh, excuse me. If I put this letter at the end, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to look at this chunk, and we can say eat. So read that with me. Eat. And if I put that chunk and that last letter together, what's my word?
Eat.
Now that's pretty easy, isn't it?
Excuse me. Our teacher said on our spelling word thing, we're talking about E, E-A, and E-E.
Well, isn't that a coincidence? Because I brought E-E for us to work with today. Now that's an easy word. But what if you were reading along, and I don't want you to blurt it out. I want you just to read it in your brain. And you came to this word. You came to this word. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look first at this chunk. Because we said that chunk says what? E. And we know E-A, the minute I see that little chunk hidden in this word, I'm going to go, start it with a heat. And then I can read that big word just by knowing that little chunk. Now, I'm going to give you another one. Are you ready? Don't blurt it out. I want you to read it, and we're going to do our steps, because this is what good readers do. What's our chunk? E. E. Because we know that EA says E. And when I put a in front of it and it has a T on the end, I can put those together and read my new word, meat. Meat. Because I looked at that chunk and I said, I know that chunk EA says E.
I know.
Okay, now I'm going to do a hard one.
No.
It's pretty hard. Pretty hard. I want you to read it, and then we'll work it together, okay? What does my chunk say, everybody? E. E. So when I see EA in a word, I'm going to start with that chunk. Just like we were looking for those little hidden pictures, we were looking for the two small words. I'm looking for this chunk, and I know that chunk says E. Magnetic letters are crazy. Oh. Now, what's our chunk? E. Our chunk is E. And if we put a dr at the beginning of it, we have dream. Dream. Now, you might have come across that word in a book and said, I don't know that word. But if you look at your chunk, you see that chunk and you think, EA, I know that says E. And if I put dream, then I have to ask myself, does that word make sense? Is that a word that I know? Have I heard of that word, dream? Have you heard of that word, dream?
Yeah.
Then probably that's the word. All right, one more. Hard, hard, hard.
Very hard.
This one might be tricky. I want you to try to read it in your mind, and then I'm going to ask somebody to read it for all of us. All right? And remember, you're going to look for a chunk that you know. What are you going to do first? Think it in your brain. Answer in your brain. What are you going to do first? You're going to look at the chunk. You're going to find it. You might see another little word that you know. What do you think our word is? Beneath.
Yes.
Put your thumb up if you read that word. Wow. Give yourselves a cheer. That is a hard word. How did you figure out that that word was beneath?
Because I said B.
So you saw that little word?
It says B-E-A for E. That's for B.
Did you hear what she did? I loved your thinking. She saw that little word B. That was a little chunk that she saw, just like we did in our compound words. Then she went over here and said, there's that chunk, that E-A-E chunk, and she figured out neath and put it all together and got the word beneath. But now, I want to share a little secret with y'all. That's pretty good, and your work with compound words was very good. But you know, where do we usually see words?
In books.
In books, yeah. And so if we can do this up here on the whiteboard, we're pretty smart. But we need to be able to do it when we are reading our books. That's what good readers do. So here's what I'd like for you to do. When I tell you to, I want you to go ever so quietly back to your desk and look at the but it's a poem, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's something that we read. And it has some words in it with that little E-A chunk that we are looking for. Cypher, do you have a vis-a-vis that we could borrow?